That video was made just over 10 years ago, and yes, it was a state school. When I took over as head, the school was struggling. I turned the school around. The school had its best ever inspection report, but in many ways, it became unique among state schools in Scotland because without making it too obvious, I ran the school on Christian values. Imagine a state school being able to do that. You can actually use the Scottish education guidelines in very different ways. But that was over 10 years ago. Let me tell you one or two other things about the school at that time. We had a Christian union for pupils. We had a pupils' prayer meeting. We had a teachers' prayer meeting. And I personally taught systematic theology as part of a higher RMPS class, systematic Christian theology. We had Christian assemblies. Would I be able to do that today? I'm not sure. I'm not in that role. So, even in my time as a head teacher, the erosion of Christian values was rapid. I remember getting a letter from some MSPs asking why I wasn't using the Stonewall, we saw that this morning, the Stonewall materials in the social education programme. I wrote a long letter back explaining why not. The Scottish Government then sent 2 inspectors for a whole day to persuade me to use this material. At the end of the day, they went away agreeing I was right not to use them purely on educational reasons. I didn't even mention Christianity the whole day. Even on their own educational principles, that material was wrong. So I then sort of retired from being a head teacher. I became a consultant advising other head teachers, including how they could definitely still have Christian assemblies in their school, for example. And then one day, one of my sons, my elder son, you might know him, his name's John William, asked me to get involved in something. He wanted to start a Christian school in Aberdeen. And he had the drive and the vision to make that happen. And eventually that school became Melville Knox School here in Aberdeen. Now, more recently, he's asked me to get involved in starting a second school, a second Christian school in Aberdeen. What can be better than a Christian school in Aberdeen? 2 Christian schools offering slightly different things. So, although I had been, if you like, the educational advisor to Melville Knox and also had conversations with Melville Knox in Glasgow, I then became the chairman, was elected as a chairman of Doxa Theo School. We formed a board, and since then we have employed 2 staff who have already started working, Jane Tiley and Svea Knoll. And I'm very encouraged with the work that they've both done so far. They bring different things, but great strengths. And it's a great encouragement to me to be working with them at the moment, planning to start our school in January. And things are looking good for us to do that. Now, this building is currently Grace Baptist Church Aberdeen. So at Grace Baptist Church Aberdeen, we're committed to Christian education. The fact that we've been involved in now starting 2 Christian schools, I think gives you a clue about that. And as I say, John Williams' drive has been very much to the fore. To persuade me to get involved, he must be quite persuasive. Because I was retired, and now I'm suddenly busy again, but happy to be so. I remember when I was in that state school, there was a newspaper article about something good going on in the school, and the reporter had said I was excited about something. And I remember the staff asking me about that. I said, I'm never excited, but I'm always determined. But actually, with Doxa Theo Christian School, I am excited. We're working very hard on the curriculum already. Now, there was a question this morning about classical Christian education, and you'll see in our banner at the back there, you can't miss it. It says at the top, classical Christian education. And the question this morning was, oh, is that too heavy on, language and grammar and stuff like that? No, it's not. So let me explain how we're going to provide a classical Christian education, because it's not just one way of doing it. There's no classical Christian education curriculum. There are materials, for example, from Memoria Press, some of which we will use, but we will use materials from elsewhere, and we'll use some of our own materials as well. Classical Christian education means rigor in education. That was always one of my words in the state school. I always said to my staff, 2 things you need in your classroom: rigor and never bore the children. And I used to expand the second one by saying, how you don't bore the children is you know your stuff and you're enthusiastic about it, and the children know that this subject matter matters to you. How much more so in a Christian school that's underpinned by God's word in the Bible. But not only will our classical Christian education school bring in educational rigor, it will also bring it in a way that meets the needs and the personalities of individual children. In the early weeks of the school, I'll probably be going in more than I will later on. And one of the reasons I'll be going in quite a lot early on is to support the staff in identifying where the children are, where they are with their learning, where they are with their personality, where they are with different learning styles and different learning techniques. Because I'm an expert in how children learn. So I think I can be of some help. And I'm also going to get other people involved. We're already developing a network with other educators, schools, teachers, homeschool people. And this network is not a Scottish network. It's not a British network. It's an international network across the world. And this will actually be reflected, if you like conferences, there's going to be another one in Aberdeen on classical Christian education. Among the speakers will be Joe Boot, who has started many classical Christian schools. He's actually English, but he started these schools in America and Canada. We'll also have Ryan Davidson from the USA, Tobias Riemenschneider from Germany. We'll have John William as one of our speakers, and then we'll have a few other people, including the teacher of our school, Jane Tiley. I won't ask Svea or other member of staff to speak at the conference, but I'm sure she'll be there. So that's something to look forward to, 3rd and 4th of January. One final thing, I'm out of time. I think I'm just about out of time. I don't like to run over my time. So, one final thing. We would like support from other churches, anywhere in the world. But support doesn't mean we're asking them for money. We're not. If they give us money, we won't refuse it. But what I mean by support is, number 1, prayer. Pray for our school. And number 2, talk about it to other people. Number 3, in your church, whatever church you come from, you should be having conversations about classical Christian education. Think of some of the things you heard this morning. If you've actually listened to them, then you need to go home. Think about your own family and their education. Think about your church's position on Christian education. I'm really looking forward to the start of Doxa Theo Christian School in Aberdeen. It should be a celebration for all of us, and I'm delighted to speak to you about it very briefly today. If I'd had longer, I could have said a lot more, but I'm keeping to my time.